Hey guys, Will Beach here with great trades with the TechMo trading course. That means technical momentum, and we focus on a swing trade, not a day trade. And if you've been following along, the last course we did was ADXR on our lower indicators. Today we're going to go ahead and jump on the MACD and then the momentum. So MACD is moving average convergence divergence, and then just a momentum indicator. So we're going to go ahead and go to studies. We're going to load or edit our studies. Again, we're on the Think or Swim software. This is US based, I believe, but you should be able to find most of these indicators, if not all of them, on any well-versed type of chart setup. Again, I do have two little kids, so if you hear them in the background, that's why. Um, and we're going to go ahead and add this. Give me 1 second. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and search that right over here to make it easy. We're going to head and type in MACD. We just want this regular one here. We want to add selected, and we're going to go ahead and type in momentum and add that. We go into settings. We're not changing any of the rules for it. However, we want the show breakout signals. Yes. We want the up signal. I always put it on 2 in bold. We like green. We want the average line to be red here. Remember, we go into the selected one. Green, I like to be bold. Zero line, I like to make black. I like to see just mainly green and red. Let's go to momentum, and we will go ahead and do the same thing here. There's only one line, so you have a zero line. So again, I like to make that black. And then you have just the main line, and we'll go ahead and make that green. And the biggest thing here is that we want to see the breakout signals here. So let's apply, press OK, and let's see if we got what we're looking for. Alright, so we have ADXR, MACD, and momentum, and we have our breakout signals. So you see these green arrows. And remember, last time we did the MACD histogram, so it actually just transfers that to our upper graph. So if you look right here, when you get a MACD crossover to the upside, it will also reflect that on the graph. Just makes it easier to look at and kind of line up everything together. So with that being said, I don't really need to explain too much. You should be pretty familiar with MACD and momentum. With the MACD, we're just looking to make sure we're in positive crossovers. Something to consider is that when you are below the zero line, like down here, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pull this up for you. Alright, so when you're like right here, any move that's down here is going to be a much weaker move than if it's actually like this trending up. So you can see that this hard pull, it looks like a very strong pull, but look at the graph. It only slightly went up here. It's like, yeah, that's a good move if you want to play it, but now look at when it was up above the zero line, and then you had this move. It was a much stronger, consistent move right here. So that's something to consider, is that they're much stronger moves when they're above zero. Not that we don't play them below zero, but you'll see as we progress through this course that we actually want to catch them on this below zero slightly most of the time, with all the right setups that give us the momentum breakouts on a big breakout. That would be something like just really strong. This is not, because our ADX is going down, which means we've now lost the upside momentum, and you see that coincides with MACD. Now, with our momentum, actual momentum indicator, the biggest thing here is that we just want to be above zero. So if you look at my indicator, my breakout indicator, it's just indicating that we are now above zero. And that's really what you want to see. So when we line things up, we like to see that we are crossing everything above together. ADXR does not have a crossover line, so or an indicator, so we just have to visually look at it. And remember, we talked about ADXR being above 25 to show momentum. If you look at this chart here, you would recognize that when we have our MACD above 0 and above the average line, and our ADX crosses over and it's in positive 25 plus territory, and they're both very gradually increasing, and then our momentum is above 0, you start to see how everything starts lining up and gives us a nice solid move. Now I'm actually looking at a weekly chart in this particular case, so you can see that if you wanted to play even long-term momentum trades, you 100% can. This never went below the 9 SMA, and that's one signal here, this small red, and here, this drop below. And if you would have waited here, you would have lost half your profit. But if you would notice our crossovers, MACD crossover, our ADX starting to come down, you could have gotten your signal a lot closer to this area here to know that, hey, it's about time to exit this position and wait for it to start over. Let's look at what it might look like in an hourly chart, which is more commonly used with the type of swing trading that I do. We're going to push these all kind of back down and look at it from this point of view. So we have a good lineup right here. You see that the momentum's above 0, MACD crossover. We have a nice increasing ADXR. The one thing here is that it is not above 25. But if it's curling up, you can still play that. But you have to understand that doesn't mean it's in a momentum breakout until it's above 25. So that means that the push, although strong initially, is going to have some weakness to it. And we'll talk about other ways to be able to tell that weakness, how to plan around that weakness, and whether you should wait for the full-on momentum or you should just play that smaller position and know that it's going to not do what you think it's going to do right away. You can see here that this had a lot of strength because it actually continued upward as the MACD was actually crossing over to the downside. So that's why with this particular case, we use our ADXR as confirmations that when they cross over, then we've lost momentum. Now, depending on the strategy and how comfortable you are, where your resistance and support levels are, how long you plan on holding it, you can still hold through this, but you just have to understand that the move is getting weaker until it shows that new strength again, which when we add our next lower indicator, it'll help determine that as well. So we'll be back on the next one with our last lower indicator. I want that one to be on its own video because it just has slightly different settings, and we'll go from there. So as you can see, the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together, and we can see that we are building a solid confirmation on multiple levels that tell us we are in a good trade. So if you're one of those traders that have been used to just jumping into something off of MACD, RSI, and then putting a stop loss, you'll no longer be putting stop losses. You'll be putting where your price target is, because we have a much higher chance of reaching a specific price target than we are worried about the downside, unless something out of the ordinary like the big market dips, where it dips 1,800 points in a single day. You don't have much to worry about, because even on the red days, when you're gaining momentum, there's something like this where they just don't impact your chart enough. And when I show you how to find these nice entries, I mean, if you entered right here at 322, if this dipped to 328 and then continued, that's not really that scary, because you have so much of a cushion from 322 that that's no longer a scary spot. And then it does it again, and then next thing you know, you take off. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to my video so you can see the next one, how we put all these pieces together, and I look forward to seeing you guys. Thanks.